I don't know what this guy's doing. Being nosy. I don't know what that popping sound is. Everything should be turned off. Started here. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall on this eve of the tip-off of the 2024-25 NCAA tournament. And as always, there's a bunch of controversy that surrounds the teams who get invited to these tournaments. And this year, surprise entrance is North Carolina. North Carolina was the last team into the tournament, and they jumped over some people who have a case for being worthy, certainly more worthy than being in the tournament in North Carolina. They have this new thing they go by, quad one wins, and that's generally the first 30 schools ranked, first 30 ranked schools, and they calculate all these victories, and it's supposed to mean a whole lot. And if you got, well, the more that you have of them, the better your chances of getting to the tournament. Well, turns out North Carolina, they only had one of them, and they lost 12. So that means that of all the top 30 teams in the nation, if North Carolina played them all, they're on a 1-12 rate. That's not good. And if you think you're worthy enough to be in the tournament, you should have at least 3 or 4 of those wins. Well, such is the case of West Virginia. West Virginia's got like 6 quad 1 wins, and they have a problem of not having the name recognition that North Carolina has. They also don't have their athletic director on the selection committee. So when you start to add things up, and it came down to North Carolina and a West Virginia, North Carolina's probably going to get the nod because of name recognition, number 1. 2, they got a good history of going deep into the tournament, winning several championships, and they have the commissioner on the selection committee. Now, the commission is not supposed to have any say into what has to take place with this particular team. So when they're talking about North Carolina, he's supposed to go out of the room. But what about the conversations when he was in the room and they were talking about other things? Or better yet, the sidebar conversations where he might have dropped some hints about who deserves to go where. Ricky Ricks, what's going on, man? Dr. Ferry, hello from Barcelona. That's a hell of a name there, Dr. Ferry. So North Carolina, with their spotty track record, they got into the tournament. Now, when questioned about why they were able to get into the tournament, I didn't hear any solid answers as to why they deserve to be into the tournament as opposed to a West Virginia. So here we are tonight. Peanut, the boy, wax up. I tried to improve my English. You'll be okay. Just keep working on it. So here we are tonight with the first of the 2 playing games when North Carolina is going to take on San Diego State out in Dayton. San Diego State is 21-9. You know, a couple of years ago, they made that run to the Final Four. So this is not a slouch program that North Carolina is going to be going up against. Historically, you would take North Carolina in a battle like this. But with all the hoopla surrounding this particular game, I think you're going to see the best out of both teams. North Carolina to try to prove that they belong, and San Diego State eager to show everybody they probably should have been ranked higher. Now, there are some other arguments out there, like Louisville and Clemson. I think Louisville whipped Clemson twice, and Clemson's got like a 5 seed, where Louisville is sitting on a number 8 or 9. So some of these things, appreciate it. Appreciate that, Ricky. Some of these teams are sitting on higher numbers than the teams that actually beat them. So they try to justify all these things by talking about some things they call metrics. And that's when the quad wins started to come into play. But as you can see, it seems to apply only to some and not to others. But North Carolina get a chance tonight to state their case. But the biggest problem I have with these NCAA tournaments is not who gets seated where, because if you get in the tournament, then you got a chance to do whatever it is you're going to do, no matter where you go. But my gripe with the tournament is this. If North Carolina is the last team to make it to the tournament, why are they 11 seed? I don't get it. If they're truly a bubble team and they're truly the last to get in, that means that North Carolina should be a number 16 seed. And instead of playing against Ole Miss, the 6th seed, they should be playing against the 1 seed if they were in fact get by San Diego State tonight. I don't know. Okay. What's my favorite team? Of course, he's a Steelers fan. Sound like sour grapes there from the Ravens. I see you picked up, what's his name, Cooper Rush, the backup quarterback from Dallas to go back up Jackson. I don't understand that move. Being that Jackson is a running quarterback, why would you go get a pocket-type quarterback to be your backup? I don't quite get that. But that's what Baltimore did. But you can't really point a finger at them. At least they made a decision on the quarterback. My team, the Steelers, they let the young boy walk. And it looked like Wilson, I think if he hasn't already signed, he's being courted by several teams, so he's probably not going to be back. And you go out and sign Mason Rudolph, who you cut loose last year, to bring in Wilson. So you're basically saying you kind of made a mistake by letting Rudolph get out the door. Well, you got him back. And looks like he just might be the starting quarterback next year if you can't make a deal. Now, Rick's mentioned Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is the wild card in all this, and he's got everybody on hold about what he's going to do. Could be understandable because the guy played in the league for 20 years, so he's probably trying to decide if he even wants to retire or not. But also his arrogantness will probably lead him to string everybody else along. Meanwhile, most people in Pittsburgh saying that they probably shouldn't bring in Rodgers because Rodgers is a divisive guy in the locker room. And if he's a divisive guy in the locker room, that's something that Pittsburgh does not need. And on the field, he would be a positive. But I don't know how much of a distraction he would be allowed to be in a veteran Steeler locker room. If they can get Rodgers and they can run the football and play good defense, then that would be an upgrade from what they had last year. But I still think that getting rid of Fields was probably the biggest mistake that they made. However, Fields got cut loose by the Bears. Why? Fields got cut loose by the Steelers. Why? What are they seeing that nobody else seems to talk about when it comes to Justin Fields? I think that Justin Fields caught a break when Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl for Philadelphia. A running quarterback now is seen as somebody that can actually win you a championship. So that raised the stock of running quarterbacks like a Justin Fields. It also put people in the mind of a quarterback like Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. I still don't think he's ready to go to the pros, but he's in position to be there. And I even heard talk this week that maybe Pittsburgh might be a good landing spot for Jalen Milroe. Well, I hope not, because he kind of reminds me of Anthony Richardson. He's got tremendous upside, but when you're going to see that upside? When you trade him 2 or 3 times to other teams, after everybody else giving up on him? That's the path I see him going. Unless he dramatically improves his passing game like Jalen Hurts did, then I don't see how he's going to have a smooth transition from college to the NFL. But the kid's working on to overcome. He get the right people surrounding him, maybe. But right now, I just don't see it, man. He's going to keep everybody on hold. It's not just the Steelers. He got the Giants. And I think the Vikings are nipping at him. What better way to take a jab at Green Bay than to go into the rival Minnesota Vikings? Same thing that Brett Favre did. Matter of fact, Favre is in his ear trying to get him to go to Minnesota. But I think if he does anything, I think he's going to go to Pittsburgh. And it's going to be a fight for control of that locker room. But I don't think that Pittsburgh will allow him to try to dictate like what was said about him in Green Bay and New York. I don't think that would be allowed to happen in Pittsburgh. But we'll take that 3,800 yards he had last year when they said he was supposed to be struggling. We'll take that all day, man. So I like to see Rodgers at least take a shot. We can run the football and play good defense behind it. What we can do is now is show up that running game so we can slow the Ravens down. Then we're ready to go. But Pittsburgh hasn't shown me in recent years that they can, number one, make a good decision on a quarterback, and two, get a quarterback developed. Because you took the guy Kenny Pickett, shipped him off to where did he go? The Eagles, got a championship over there. Now he's going to Cleveland and he's going to play against you. So you're going to see how the guy that you should have been developing wind up playing for somebody else. So we'll see how that goes. Hugs from Brazil. All right, well, the hug on this talking we're talking about. Favorite NLB team? I guess that's supposed to be Major League team. I always liked the Cardinals, and by default, also the Red Sox. The season started basically this morning when the Dodgers knocked off the Cubs. I think they're going to play again another game or two in that Tokyo Dome. Then the rest of the teams, they're going to come back and start on the 27th. I think the Yankees got the Dodgers or something like that. Fields needs somebody committed. What do you mean, a receiver or a team that's committed to him? Well, it looks like the Jets, they give him 2 years, $40 million. I mean, what more commitment does he need? I thought he would have stayed in Chicago a little bit longer than what he did. I didn't think he played that bad in Chicago. If he's able to complete 55% of his passes and be able to escape down the field running, then the Jets are going to be hard to beat. The defense took a step back last year, but a couple of free agents here, a draft pick there, you can fix all of that. So, again, there's not much difference between the top team in the NFL and the lowest team in the NFL. But going back to North Carolina, the topic of the day, they're going to play the play-in game tonight against San Diego State and Dayton. I think that's at 9 o'clock. People are in an uproar because North Carolina only had one win, and they didn't have a really solid selection of wins this year. They did manage to win 22 games, whereas West Virginia only won 19. But West Virginia had a far tougher schedule, and they had more success than what North Carolina did. So West Virginia does have a legitimate gripe over North Carolina about being in that tournament. So much so that the governor, West Virginia's Governor Morrissey, said he's going to launch an investigation into the selection process. This is not the first time he's done some things like this before, and he's got a good case. He's laid out the numbers for you, and there's nothing wrong with what he's saying, but really, there's really not much he can do about it, especially at this late hour, because once the games start, they're not going to erase the results just to stick West Virginia in. They're just going to have to take their chances at NIT if they decide to go. But it's just making more noise or putting a spotlight on what took place in the selection process. I think that the Cunningham guy, by him being on the board, that taints a dirty picture for the selection committee, because of course he's going to have some influence over his program getting into the tournament. If they think that highly of him to put him in that position to be on as the tournament chair, you know that he had some input about his team getting through to the tournament. No, it don't make difference to him about the money, because I'm sure he's probably making about $1 million a year. The extra $5,000-$6,000 he might have made for getting North Carolina in there is not as important as having the team in the tournament itself. So I won't say that he was bought out or bribed or anything like that, but it does look fishy to me that your team, controversial as they are, got into the tournament when you didn't deserve it. I think, though, what really got North Carolina in the tournament, I just happened to be looking at the TV and they were getting blown out by Duke. And then when I looked again 30 minutes later, they made it a close game. And I think that's why they got into the tournament, because they were able to close the gap on Duke. But Duke without Cooper Flagg is a completely different team. And when that kid comes back and if he comes back close to 100%, they're going to be hard to beat. I know people are picking Florida, and they still want to hang on to Auburn as the number 1 overall seed. I don't see that. I think that with Flagg, the way Duke is playing, and I don't like Duke. I never did like Duke, but they playing some basketball. And without him, they still playing pretty good basketball. They were getting double digits down to Louisville, and they came back and won by double digits. So those reserve guys getting more floor time without Flagg on the floor. So you know they're going to be in top shape by the time he does come back. I don't think they're going to need him the first round. but they're going to definitely need him in the Sweet 16 rounds. And I think that's where you're going to see him. Now, he's got a similar injury to what Jalen Brunson of the Knicks had. I don't think Brunson is back yet. And given the bonus baby attitude that the NBA has, I don't think you're going to see Brunson around until it's almost time for him to go to the playoffs. That's the way they do things in the NBA. They rest and rest. They get a little scratch and they want to sit out and get a little boo-boo, and you got to sit out 2 weeks for that. And, man, they're just not tough enough, man. So Flag, he's going to come back quicker because you don't have the time that the NBA has to rest and recuperate. So expect to see Flag not this week, but definitely next week in the round of 16. Now, I mentioned the NBA, the Lakers. LeBron is still out, but last night, Golden State kind of painted the picture I've been trying to say for the last 2 weeks. Everybody's been touting how great that Golden State has become since they got Jimmy Butler, but I hadn't been seeing it in the stat lines. I have said to you that Steph Curry cannot maintain 40, 45-point outings to advance the Warriors. Well, Steph was off last night. He was hit 10 of 14 of his free throws. He was off. And they're talking about resting him tonight when they play against Milwaukee. But sound like maybe he should have got some rest before then. But the more disturbing thing about that is Denver did not play Jokic or Murray, and the other guy, Christian Braun. So with those three guys out, there's no reason why Golden State should not have beaten the Nuggets, especially when you had your players on the floor. So if Jimmy Butler is that great of an addition as they say he is, and he did score 23 points last night, I guess because he had to. If he's that great of an addition, they had no business losing to the Nuggets when they sit out their top three players. Now, by him scoring 23, he showed me that he can score, but he's only been getting 8 points here, 13 points there. He's not consistent, just in the same way that Jamal Murray is not consistent for the Nuggets. If the Nuggets want to advance, Murray is going to have to get going earlier, and he's got to contribute more to help out Jokic. He can't get 1.5 points or 4.5 points or 3.5 points, as I've seen him do on a consistent basis the last couple of weeks, and expect Denver to advance. It's the same thing with Golden State. If Butler is not contributing more in the stat line, Curry's going to have to score 40 to 45 if Golden State wants to advance. And I don't see that happening. His age seems to be starting to catch up with him. He said that he's got some kind of soreness in his back. Steve Kerr said he's tired. It's probably a combination of the two. So more than likely, he's not going to play tonight. And they're going to play against Milwaukee, who seem to be a two-headed team with Lillard and Giannis. I saw them play the other night, and it illustrated a disturbing trend I see from the NBA. Tell me why it took Damian Lillard 1 minute to go in the third quarter before he got his first assist. A point guard in the NBA with one assist, and he didn't get that until 1 minute left in the third quarter. How is that possible? Now, I'm not faulting Lillard. Maybe I missed a shift in the style of play that they have. Now, I watched the game, a good bit of it, and I saw Lillard penetrate, and he would kick to a guy, and every time they took the shot, they missed. He can't do anything about that. But the bigger trend that I see, they're dropping it down to the big fella. All the teams in the NBA seem to be doing the same thing. They're kicking it down to the big fella, and the big fella is doing the job of the point guard by distributing, because these guys are cutting. You drop it down to Jokic, he kicks it out, somebody scores. Or Lillard kicks it out to shooting, a wide open person to shoot, then he'll put it down to the big fella, and the big fella will kick it out to somebody else who's more wide open, and they will make the score. So the point guard is not the focal point of the action as far as getting the shots now. And that is a side effect of all the three-pointers that everybody's shooting right now. All right, who's coming back? They say he's coming back next year. Who are you talking about, Ricks? You think Flag will come back next season? Well, if they're going to pay him $5-6 million, why not come back? But I think he's good enough to play in the NBA, either be on the bench somewhere starting out. But he'll have far less pressure if he went to play in college than he would in the NBA. Golden State hadn't played anybody since acquiring Jimmy. Okay, who do you consider as somebody? Have they played Oklahoma City yet? Now, I saw OKC play the other day, too, and that guy, Hartenstein, showed me something. If Hartenstein can do what I was saying that those big fellows are doing, he's catching the ball and distributing. He did that flawlessly the other night, and he had a double-double. I think he had the points and the rebounds. He had several assists there. He was pushing for a triple-double. If Hartenstein plays like that, then OKC is going to be hard to beat, man. And I've been following these guys, and then I'm watching how these big fellas play down low, and that's the best I've ever seen Hartenstein play. But if he's going to play like that, and Gilgeous-Alexander, he's going to get 30 points a game. He's taking all kind of pressure off him if he can score as much as he can. So it's going to be interesting to see how these NBA playoffs take shape. Because these guys are jockeying for position, and they got that 7 through 10 little tournament thing they got set up, which I thought was great. You got to earn everything now. You're not just given to you. So pretty interesting into the season how the NBA does it. And then they got that tournament cup during the season. So the NBA's got some good stuff going on. But I think Curry's going to sit out tonight, and that should make for an interesting matchup with Giannis. He's going to get his points. Travel off a lot. He's going to get his points. And without Steph in there, expect Butler to score a little bit more like he did last night. But he's going to have to do that when Curry's on the floor if Golden State hopes to advance deep into the tournament. But right now, I still think the OKC is the best team out there in the West anyway. And to get by them, you're going to have to find some way to get the ball out of Gilgeous' hands and look at the big fellas to try to slow that down. Okay, OKC is overrated. Now, last year they choked a little bit, but I think they got a little bit more experience this year. But like I say, if Gilgeous is scoring his 30 points and he gets contribution from the big fella, then they're going to be hard to beat. But what you haven't seen, Ricks, is that these guys play good defense. So as long as they're playing good defense, they got a shot. Just like Cleveland plays good defense. No, they hadn't made the finals yet, but the Bulls took them a long time to get to the finals too. I'm not comparing what they're doing with the way Chicago rolls, but it's a process. You can't just automatically assume that you're going to pop up in the finals. Cleveland hadn't been to the finals either, not this new group. So they're going to push Boston. It's going to come down to Boston and then Cleveland in the East, I think. And then OKC is going to get the survivor out of Minnesota, LA, and Golden State. That's what your West is going to look like. But we still got a couple more weeks before that's all settled. But tonight, I expect to see Steph take a break, Butler step it up, and then the game against North Carolina and San Diego State, that's also going to be a good game. But North Carolina, they shouldn't be there, man. They're really there from brand name, and if it wasn't the brand name, it had something to do with the AD who was on the selection committee getting them into that tournament. If you only win one quad one game, then I don't think you should be there because most of the tournament is going to be quad one, and who are you going to beat? And I don't think they can do it. Now, it's still basketball, one and done. Anybody can get on a run. North Carolina is certainly capable of doing it. Maybe they got their mojo back when they tracked Duke down the other night. Even though they still lost, they could be a hard out, but they got to get by San Diego State first. If they do that, they could beat Ole Miss, and that would justify their position in the tournament. Now, speaking of getting their mojo back, I think that Auburn kind of got theirs back also. They were getting whipped by Tennessee. Bruce Pearl chewed them out, and they made a furious comeback in the end there. Now, if that Auburn team shows up the way they finished that game against Tennessee, then Auburn is going to go deep in the tournament. But if the team that played before that chewing out show up, Auburn might not make it through the first weekend, man. And I know what they did all year, beating 16 quad one teams, but I don't see anybody beating Duke with a healthy Cooper Flag. If Flag is able to come back and he's healthy, then he's going to be a problem for whoever they face. He's probably all right now. They just holding him back, making people think they got a shot. But this is a pretty good team, and I can't wait to see it all play out. But, the upsets are going to come like they always do on Thursday at 12 o'clock. Maybe you can catch a couple of them. But tonight you got North Carolina, San Diego State, and Dayton. And tomorrow you got Texas and Xavier, another team. Texas with the 14th team out of the SEC, them in Oklahoma. I don't know if the SEC was that good that you had to have 14 teams from one conference make the tournament. I mean, is the rest of the conference basketball that bad? It's a question that needs to be asked. They have not even made conference finals, so to think they would make it to the finals is crazy. Well, you got to get there for the first time at some point. You think about the Ravens, when the first time they made the Super Bowl. I mean, they hadn't made the Super Bowl that year. They had Ray Lewis and all them with that great defense. They hadn't been to the Super Bowl. They got there. Pittsburgh, the first time they got there, nobody was expecting them to get there. Miami and Oakland, they were the top dogs at that time. So it doesn't matter if you never made it or not. If you're worthy and you go to play and things break your way, you can make it. It's got to be a first time for everything. And I think OKC can get to the finals. They did go one year when they had Durant and James Harden and Westbrook, and I still don't know why they broke that team up. They could have built around that team for a long time and went deep many years, but they didn't decide not to do that. And I don't know why they do the things they do, but you never know what's going on inside the locker room. And I think that might have had something to do with it. And speaking of Westbrook, he almost had, or he either had a triple-double or he almost had a triple-double last night. He don't even look to score that much. But with Murray and Jokic out, and, why not take shots? He can still do it if he had to do it. And that's why I don't understand why guys like himself and Jimmy Butler don't contribute more on the stat line to help their teams out. So that's just my thought on that. Didn't get a chance to come on this morning. A little off schedule this week. We're doing, I got spring break, so I don't have to get up early in the morning if I don't want to. I'll be on the move doing other things. Got baseball going on. A little rough road right now, but, a little tweak here and a tweak there. We'll be competitive. If not this year, we get competitive next year. So don't get competitive next year, then it's time for me to get on and do something else. Because I can't take, I don't mind losing, but beat me. We're beating ourselves right now, and that's not good. But anyway, that's another story. But look for the night's game against San Diego, for San Diego State, North Carolina. That should be a good one. But don't be surprised if one of the other runs the other off the court. It has the possibility of doing that, and also has that great possibility that it's going to be a great game. So it should be worth watching. And any one of these teams could beat Ole Miss in the first round. But Ole Miss is also a dangerous team. So if North Carolina want to secure their credibility, they'll win tonight. And if not beat Ole Miss, then at least make it competitive all the way down to the wire to justify that position. I'm not sure they can do it, but the committee thinks they can, but we'll see. But anyway, I appreciate you guys chiming in with me. Just had a few thoughts about North Carolina and the governor of West Virginia threatening a investigation, even though it's not going to do them any good. But that's what they got going on right now. So that's that. But anyway, I'll catch you guys tomorrow or something comes up, breaking news or anything. I'll chime back in with you. And until next time, this has been Sports for Real, talking about a little NCAA basketball. Oh, by the way, I asked a question the other day, would you guys be interested in doing a bracket challenge? We can work it out. I'm going to fill out my bracket and post it before Thursday's games. So if you guys are interested in taking me head on, or if you want to pool together and have a open tournament, we can do that. I'll manage it. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. Drop me a comment in the box, and we'll see what we can put together. But I think that Duke Cooper Flag comes back, Duke's going to win it all, man. A lot of people say Florida's the best right now. Maybe. We'll see. They got to go out and prove it. So until next time, you guys take it light. This is Sports for Real. I'm out. OKC is overrated.